Welcome to EmpowerFuse with your host, Dr. Carolyn M. Rubin. EmpowerFuse is a show of empowering messages with a focus on encouraging self-confidence, resilience, and a positive mindset. Certified life coach and 6-phase meditation trainer, Dr. Carolyn Rubin, will unleash inspiration together while igniting motivation and creativity. Dr. Rubin will discuss many topics such as healthcare, leadership, life, growth, and will add in some laughter too. So please welcome the host of EmpowerFuse, Dr. Carolyn Rubin.
Good morning, everyone. It is great to be with you today. If you are in this path of the winter storm, please stay safe and stay warm. I am coming to you today from a hotel room, so you might notice the camera going yellow and not yellow. It is not a technology issue. We will stay on the air, but it does have to do with the camera in the computer. So my apologies up front for a little bit of the discoloring with regards to the show, but at least I am here to join you. So that is what I am thankful for today. So thanks again for being here, and please stay safe. If you are out in the cold, stay warm. Where in your life are you living on purpose, but feeling tired in a way that rest alone doesn't seem to touch? You're not overwhelmed. You're not burned out, just quietly depleted. Let that question sit for just a moment. And where are you showing up with integrity, responsibility, and heart? Yet somewhere inside, it feels like something's missing. And who are you unconsciously performing your purpose for? You don't need to answer that out loud. Just notice where it sits. You see, many purpose-driven people don't realize they're tired because of how they're living their purpose. It's not because they lack one. Purpose is meant to be life-giving, but when it quietly merges with expectation, responsibility, and approval, it becomes heavy. That heaviness isn't failure. It's information. And that's where we're going to start today. It's a kind of tiredness that doesn't come from doing the wrong work. It comes from doing meaningful work in a way that costs you more than it ever should. I see this most often in leaders, caregivers, servants, and high-capacity women. People who care deeply and carry quietly. You love what you do. You believe in your calling. You're committed. And yet something feels off. Not dramatic, just unsustainable. That tension is what we are naming today. And before we go any further, I want you to check in with yourself. Not intellectually, but honestly. I want you to quietly ask yourself, where does this tension show up for me most often? My body, my schedule, or my relationships? You don't need to write it down. Just notice where you feel it first. That awareness is the beginning of alignment. Welcome to EmpowerFuse, unleashing inspiration together. This is a space where we don't rush clarity, perform wisdom, or expect outcomes. We don't push for them. Here we slow down long enough to tell the truth with ourselves and with each other. EmpowerFuse exists to ignite what's inside and amplify what's possible, not through force, but through alignment. I'm your host, Dr. Carolyn Rubin, and today's conversation is about purpose without performance. What it means to live, lead, and serve from truth rather than approval. But before we go any further, let's ground the room. I want you to place one hand on your heart and let your shoulders drop. Take a deep breath in. Exhale slowly. And we're going to do that one more time, but this time I want you to say quietly to yourself, I don't have to prove why I belong here. Deep breath in. Exhale. I don't have to prove why I belong here. Let your body receive that before your mind debates it. If you have your journal nearby, I want you to write one sentence, just one, and complete the thought without overthinking it. Right now, my purpose feels heavy because. Let it be incomplete. Let it be imperfect, because you're not fixing anything right now. You're just listening. So right now, my purpose feels heavy because. While you finish that thought, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back to EmpowerFuse, Unleashing Inspiration Together. Today we're coming to you from a hotel room, so you may notice that the camera will go in and out of yellow and clear. So please bear with us, and thank you for being here. Today's show, we are talking about purpose without performance, what it means to live, lead, and serve from truth rather than approval. Here's something that I've learned from decades of leadership and service. The people most devoted to purpose are often the ones at risk of performing it, not because they're inauthentic, but because they care. Performance in this sense doesn't mean pretending. It means feeling responsible for holding everything together. Many of us have felt that way. We're the ones that are responsible. We're the dependable ones. We're the capable ones, the ones that others lead on. So over time, purpose, something that's meant to be lived, becomes something you manage, maintain, protect, and prove. Performance attaches itself to purpose when identity becomes fused with contribution. If you learned that you were valued for what you provided, stability, care, excellence, then purpose may quietly become transactional. You don't consciously think, I need approval. Yet, we live as if our rest must be justified. If boundaries require explanation, or if stepping back is risky, that's not calling. That's conditioning. And when purpose is fueled by obligation, it's always performance to survive. Let me slow this down just for a moment and make it practical. Because performance rarely shows up in dramatic ways. It shows up in small, responsible habits, even feeling virtuous. It's like staying on calls that you don't need to, because if you drop, you might feel dismissive. Does that sound familiar? Or maybe it's answering emails immediately, even though they're not urgent. But because being responsive has become a part of the way we value ourselves. It's how we measure our values. And it looks like over-preparing, over-explaining, or stepping in before we're even asked. We're not controlling, but because we've learned to be ready, we do that in order to keep things safe. None of this is wrong. But over time, these habits quietly train your nervous system to believe that rest needs justification and boundaries require explanation. That's when purpose stops feeling expansive and starts feeling managed. Think about what I just said. As I talked through those patterns, which one tapped you on the shoulder? Not the most dramatic one, but the one that felt the most familiar. And ask yourself quietly, what habit do I defend as just how I am, even though it's costing me energy? You don't need to change it today, but name it. Because naming it is how performance loosens its grip. So are you one that stays on calls so you don't seem to be dismissive? Are you one that jumps on emails the minute they hit? Or are you one that over-prepares and over-explains and steps in before you're ever asked? Think about it. Which one tapped you on the shoulder? If you recognize yourself here, it's not a failure of character. It's a pattern that formed because it once worked. I didn't always recognize this in myself. In healthcare leadership, responsibility isn't optional. People depend on decisions you make. Systems matter. Outcomes matter. Lives matter. They're affected. So I learned early on how to anticipate the needs. Before anyone ever spoke them, I was there. I knew when to step in. If something felt uncertain, I was right there. I was the calm one, the steady one. And I was praised for it. But there became a season, not dramatic or public, but one that I realized that I had quietly shifted. I was still aligned with my work and still committed to service. The problem, I wasn't leading anymore. I was holding. Holding expectations that weren't mine. Holding expectations that weren't named. Holding responsibility that wasn't mine alone. How many times do we do that in our life? Hold on to a responsibility that's typically shared. It's not ours alone, yet we hold it. We own it. And holding an identity built around just being needed. Because things were working, I never questioned the cost. I never changed. I never looked. Until I felt so disconnected, not from my work, but from myself. And I had to sit back, step back to understand why. And that's when I realized my purpose hadn't disappeared. It had become performative. What I came to see later was that I wasn't responding anymore. I was managing the expectations, managing the perceptions, managing emotional intelligence in the room. And that subtle but important shift made a difference in who I was. When purpose is lived, you respond to what's real. When purpose is performed, you manage what might happen. Think about that. When you respond to what's real, your purpose is lived. When purpose is performed, you manage what might happen. You stay a step ahead, not out of wisdom, but out of habit. And over time, that habit becomes exhausting because you're never fully present. You're always preemptively holding. Naming this pattern matters. Not because you once see it, but so you can interrupt it. Before we move on, I want you to reflect. Reflect on your own story for just a moment. Take out your journal and write to this prompt. When did my purpose start feeling like something I had to maintain instead of something I lived? When did my purpose start feeling like something I had to maintain instead of something I lived? And I want you to stay with that memory, one that surfaces to the top, not to judge it, not to understand it, but to reflect on it. Often the moment we begin performing was the moment we learned how to survive. So again, the question is, when did my purpose start feeling like something I had to maintain instead of something I lived. And then next, I want you to write this. What am I still carrying because being needed once kept me safe? Doesn't have to be polished, just something honest. What am I still carrying because being needed once kept me safe? What am I still carrying because being needed once kept me safe? Let silence do the work. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we'll continue to talk about servant leadership versus self-abandonment.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to EmpowerFuse, Unleashing Inspiration Together. If you've just joined us, you will notice that I am going live today from a hotel room. So our quality might be a little less on the video just due to that timing and the lighting within the room. But I'm happy to at least be here with you. If you are in the path of the winter storm, please stay safe and stay warm. Today we are talking about purpose without performance, what it means to live, lead, and serve from truth rather than approval. This is especially important for servant leaders because service is rooted in truth and it's sustainable. Service rooted in approval eventually becomes resentment. True servant leadership does not require self-abandonment. Exhaustion, that's not virtue. It's information. It's your system saying, this way is no longer working for me. It no longer matches who I'm becoming. When I shifted from approval-based leadership to alignment-based leadership, something surprising happened for me. So let me ask you something gently. Where have you confused being faithful with being exhausted? Where have you confused being faithful with being exhausted? Where have you told yourself, this is just what leadership requires? Even when your body has been quietly asking for something different. You don't need to resolve it today, but acknowledge the truth of it. I was there. I have been there, and sometimes still am. Because we totally confuse being faithful with being exhausted. So many times people say, you look tired. You sound tired. And I'll be like, I am. I went into the office at 6 a.m. But then I have to step back and ask myself, why? On days I have early meetings, yes. But that habit stayed just the same every single day. Even though my first meeting might not be till 8 a.m, I was still there at 6. So it's these habits that just become that, right? It's just routine. We just do it. But at some point, we have to step back. I didn't become less effective. I became clearer. I stopped over-explaining, stopped over-functioning, stopped carrying what wasn't mine to hold. And sometimes that is the hardest thing to change. When we hand back to others what we shouldn't have been holding on to begin with. But we do. It's not that we care less, but we trusted ourselves more. See, we have a habit. And we hold on in fear of letting others down, in fear of failing ourselves, in fear of not showing up. But once we start handing it back, we actually show up better. I want you to do me a favor and unclench your jaw. I want you to drop your shoulders. And I want you to quietly ask yourself, what am I afraid would happen if I stopped performing? This is the biggest fear for individuals. If I stop performing, if I stop doing what I've always done, what does that mean for me? So ask yourself, what am I afraid would happen if I stopped performing? And notice the answer. Don't judge it. Just notice it. And let me take this one step further. Stopped performing not intellectually, but practically. You don't have to change your thoughts or what you do, but maybe you change some of the habits. I want you to picture a moment coming up this week. A moment where someone expects something from you automatically. You already know the pattern. You know the request. You know when it's going to happen. And you already know that you always say, yes. You know what you usually say. Now, pause that scene. And instead, I want you to ask yourself quietly in your body, not your head. Let your body doing the talk. If I wasn't performing right now, what would alignment sound like. So you know what they're going to come and ask you for. It's a habit. You know what you usually say, but now handle it differently. What if I wasn't performing right now, and what would alignment look like? If you handed that back, or if you changed your response, instead of like dropping everything and doing it immediately, what if you asked them to just refresh the report on their own versus asking you to do it? What would that look like? Notice the difference between the first response that pops up and the truer one underneath it. What was your first response? See, that was something I had to let go of because I was in the habit of doing it. I do a lot with analytics and I do a lot with reports. And every week was the same request. To pull up a report that I had previously provided, just to refresh it and send it back out. And for years, that's what I did. I knew the request was coming. I just pulled it up, refreshed it, sent it back out the door. And then I started just asking them if they had the report and just letting them know, I'll refresh it again and send it to you, but please save it because then you can refresh it on your own next week. And yet the following week, the same request would come. And it's hard not to just pull it up, refresh, and send it on. It's hard to do that. But also, it was taking out of my day. And it was adding to just the challenges or the frustrations, not because I couldn't do it, because of the expectations. But I was looking for the approval, so I would just do. And then I started saying, please pull up the report and refresh it. The one I sent you last week. After a couple of times saying that, it changed the habit. And then they start pulling it up and they're refreshing it on their own and they're reporting out versus coming to ask for the report. So sometimes those little subtle changes can make things happen, can change things. So I want you to take a moment to write, not from logic, but from sensation. I want you to finish this sentence as many times as you need. If I stopped performing, I'm afraid that. If I stopped performing, I'm afraid that. Let the fear speak without correcting it. You see, fear loses power when it's witnessed instead of managed. So many times you need, if I stopped performing, I'm afraid that. And see what you write. What resonates? Where are you looking for the approval that you're afraid you'll no longer receive? You'd be amazed what might happen. See, approval-driven leadership asks, am I doing enough? Am I still needed? Am I meeting expectations? Alignment-driven leadership will ask, is this mine to carry? Does this reflect who I am now? And is this how I want to lead forward? Is it mine to carry? Does it reflect who I am now? And is it how I want to lead forward? Purpose without performance feels quieter, not weaker, not just steadier. You still care very deeply. You still lead fully, but you're no longer auditioning for belonging. You're standing in truth. You don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. We don't have to do it all. Purpose without performance feels quieter. And as we've talked about alignment, notice this. Alignment doesn't usually feel dramatic. It feels quieter. So ask yourself, where in my life do I already know the aligned choice? Where in my life do I already know the aligned choice? But I've been postponing it. I know where I want to be. I know what I want to do. I know what's aligned with who I am today, but I'm postponing it. And why? Why are we doing that? Clarity is rarely absent. It's just waiting for permission. So if we were to step back and think about our days, about our weeks, what are we holding on to? Where are we seeking approval that we really don't need to seek? And when are you going to give yourself permission to rest versus justifying the right to rest? Grab your journal. If I trusted that my purpose was secure, not fragile, not dependent on approval, what would I release first? If I trusted that my purpose was secure, not fragile, not dependent on approval, what would I release first? Take a minute. Then I want you to ask yourself another question. What might become possible if I trusted myself that much? What might become possible if I trusted myself that much? Let yourself write without editing. It's not about action. It's about possibility. So what might become possible if I trusted myself that much? Would you have more time to your day? Would you have more time with your life? What can you let go of? Because you don't need to hold on to it. What might become possible if I trusted myself that much? We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality? But it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating. Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back to EmpowerFuse, Unleashing Inspiration Together. If you're just joining us, you will see that I am coming to you live today from a hotel room. So the quality of the video may go in and out between yellow and clear. Our apologies for that, but we are happy to be here with you today. And if you are in the path of the winter storm, please stay safe and warm. Today we're talking about purpose without performance. What it means to live, lead, and serve from truth rather than approval. But before we give an assignment out, I want you to take another breath with me and place your hand on your heart and ask yourself quietly, what part of me is ready to stop proving and start trusting? What part of me is ready to stop proving and start trusting? And I want you to just let that answer settle for just a minute. One of the most stabilizing truths that I've learned is this: purpose does not need applause to be real. When purpose depends on validation, it becomes fragile. When it's rooted in identity, it becomes resilient. Think about that. When it's rooted in identity, it becomes resilient. If it depends on validation, then purpose becomes fragile. Purpose doesn't ask you to disappear behind it. It asks you to stand fully inside yourself. That's where truth lies. That's where legacy forms. Think about what you want and how you want to live your purpose. Here's your EmpowerFuse assignment for the week. Just one. Notice one place where you are performing your purpose. Notice one place where you are performing your purpose. Not excellence, not integrity, performance. Where you're overgiving out of habit, over-explaining out of fear, over-functioning because you always have. Where's one moment in your day or your week that you do that? It becomes habit. So let's name it. Let's name it and let's start going towards alignment. Because you want that. You want the alignment. You want to choose the alignment just once. One time. I'm going to ask you to put your hand over your heart again, and I want you to quietly say, I release the need to prove my purpose. I release the need to prove my purpose. I choose to live it. We don't need to prove it. We need to live it. This isn't about withdrawing. It's not about pulling back. It's about noticing. Noticing those moments that you are in fear or you're overgiving. Start taking back a little bit of your time. Maybe it's an extra 15 minutes of sleep. Maybe it's 15 more minutes with your kids. And if discomfort shows up, doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're interrupting a familiar pattern. If you've been doing the same thing year after year and you make a change, you might seem a little bit like, ooh, am I doing the right thing? You're a little uncomfortable, a little out of ease. Performance dissolves slowly. Don't get back into a habit. It's not because it's stubborn, but because it once protected you. Trust that one aligned choice. It's enough for the week. Just have one. You don't need to change life all at once. Just pay more attention and name it. Because once you stop performing your purpose, a new question will naturally arise. What do you do with the space that opens when you're no longer proving? Think about that. What could you do? What would you do with that space that opens up when you're no longer trying to prove yourself? Live your purpose. It's where the next layer of leadership begins. And if you would like to know more about your purpose, please reach out to me. I would love to have that conversation. Let's figure it out together. And if this show resonated with you, please like it. Please share it with others who are trying to understand their purpose. And please subscribe so that we can continue on this journey every single week. I am so blessed to have each and every one of you tuning in, whether you're here live or on a replay. So thank you for sharing the time with me. Again, if you are in the path of the winter storm, please stay safe and warm. If there's other things going on around you outside of the winter storm, please stay blessed and take care, every single person. God bless you. Enjoy your family, friends, and loved ones. And until next Saturday, I will see you in the morning next week on EmpowerFuse, unleashing inspiration together. And remember, purpose doesn't need permission, but sometimes we do. Thank you for attending. Bye-bye.
This has been EmpowerFuse with your host, Dr. Carolyn M. Rubin. Join us each week as Carolyn brings individuals together to share ideas, to collectively support each other, and to spark inspiration. Saturdays, 11 a.m. Eastern.